Hi, good morning. I just wanted to dim some lights. sorry. That was just my way of saying, let's go get some dim sum. I'm not ordering from the same restaurant as last time. This place looks pretty good. Home style dim sum. And it's got everything. Steamed pork bun, okay. Shao mai, of course. Hagao. Sticky rice and lotus leaf. Shrimp rice roll. Oh, chicken feet. Oh, this is my favorite. Soybean skin roll. Beef tripe for sure. Ooh. Yes, please. Welcome to Seattle's Chinatown, the International District. So I got half a duck and a half of a soy sauce chicken. They were sold out of stuff. And we gotta go pick up our dim sum. Why'd I even get back in the car? The dim sum place like literally right next door. It almost feels so nostalgic seeing the dim sum being cooked in those little bamboo steamers. It's almost like seeing your best friend for the first time after quarantine. It's almost a little too much. And this is a pretty full dim sum feast. I got all the popular items. I got the hagao, the shrimp dumpling, I got the shao mai, I got the pork bun. Now the key is trying to keep it warm. And I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a gas burner and I'm gonna just steam some of the dim sum. I'm just gonna steam my own dim sum. Oh, I miss this so much. Roast duck is one of my favorite barbecue items. And this thing, you can even eat the bones. I don't think I've had this for a while. This is a crispy, I think it's a crispy pork dumpling. That is definitely crispy. Oh, look how flaky and crispy. Oh, inside, it's just mochi-esque wrapper. Oh, look at that. That's basically a crispy mochi dumpling. I don't think I've ever really had this before. Maybe because it was coming by in a dim sum cart, just looked monstrous, but oh man, you need to try this. Wow, this is way better than I thought it was gonna be. It's like slightly sweet mochi. The crunch is remarkable. Oh, speak to me again, baby. Oh yeah, you know what I like to hear. I'm actually really surprised it tastes this good. Because if you think about it, like sweet, crispy mochi with pork inside. Right away, it doesn't really sound all that appealing to me, but wow, the crunch, the savoriness, flavor is good, texture is even better. Wow. If you never had a ramune, it has a little marble inside. The first time I got it, like I actually tried to take the marble out. It tastes like grape and fun. Oh, I think my steamed dim sum is ready. Typically, I love eating dim sum with chili sauce and mustard, but for some reason, no mustard. This is my favorite dim sum in the world. Tofu skin, it's basically a tofu skin dumpling. Super chewy, juicy tofu exterior that's soaked through with that nice juice from the pork, crunchy vegetables inside. One thing I love about dim sum is just the array of different textures. This is probably the most popular dim sum item. Oh, it broke. The shrimp dumpling. This one is giant. Got like a monster shrimp in here. They thought one shrimp would be too lonely, so they put two in here. Aw, love the way they think. I never really liked this item that much. I get it because it's something that you have to get when you're eating dim sum. Actually, this one's pretty good. Because sometimes this is not good. It tastes like a dry, meaty brick. But here, it's actually juicy. Another classic chao shao bao. Fluffy bun stuffed with sweet smoky roast pork. Oh, this goes down so easy. I feel like this dish kind of died. This is the steamed rice noodle with shrimp And this, you gotta eat as soon as it comes out of the steamer. And this thing has been, yeah, this doesn't look good. The mouth feels a little rougher than usual because it's been sitting out way too long. But overall, still texture is good. And of course, the phoenix foot. That's what we call chicken feet. We Chinese people like to make it sound fancy. Can you imagine if like Harry Potter went to get his wand and instead of like a phoenix feather, the one that chose him was one with a chicken feet? And every time he uses it, it just makes him hungrier and hungrier. Oh, of course, this is something not a lot of people are used to. Oh, it's really, really good. You guys should try it, especially those of you with a foot fetish. And plus, it's one of the only foods in the world that as you eat it, it gradually flips you off. It's like the chicken's last act of vengeance. All right, as you guys know, I've been traveling for many, many years now. And one of the most frequent questions I get is, what is the best food you have ever had? That is absolutely, I don't think I can answer that. Because there's certain foods that connect more with you because of flavor. There's certain foods that connect more with you because you saw how it was done. You heard the story behind the food. There's different ways that food resonate with each different person. So I will do a series. And this is the first episode of the best and worst foods I have ever had, because there's no way I'll limit it down to one. So I'll limit it as much as I can, but the foods I'm about to talk about, I think every single one of them is life-changing. It's completely life-changing. It's one of those things where you walk in, you put it in your mouth. Your next thought will be, you know what? I could die now. Yeah, if this was my last meal, I'd be happy. And by life-changing, I mean when you take a bite, all the foods in the same category that you've had before that bite, in that instant, as good as you thought they were, you realize we're just doo-doo. We're something where you take a bite and you just can't even talk, like the whole world floats away, and you realize that you will miss it and pine after it for the rest of your life. War, in Food Wars terms, your entire wardrobe, including underwear, just breaks apart. And these are not in any particular order. So let's get started. First thing that popped into my mind when I thought of the best food I've ever had in my life, A5 Wagyu from Japan. I've said this before that I've been to steakhouses in the US and I have uttered the words melt in your mouth. I really didn't know my steaks, but my first bite of A5 Japanese Wagyu, I can still remember it. We went to a ryokan, me and my girlfriend at the time. We went to a ryokan, it was like around Christmas time. And I remember that was the only ryokan that had a single room left. Like everything was booked out. So we booked that room and it was the most expensive hotel room I've ever stayed in my life. It was ridiculously expensive, especially when you include the meals. So the meal we chose was the most expensive kaiseki set, mainly because at that point you spend so much money on a room anyway, you're like, you know what, give me the beef. And I never before that really heard of or had any inkling what A5 Wagyu was. So we're sitting there at dinner and the lady came into the room and cooked up the A5 Wagyu and I see it and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty. It's like something snowed on the beef. This beef looked like Mount Fuji. As soon as that beef hit the grill, the sizzle, the fatty, beefy stale that permeated the air is something I can still see so vividly in my mind. And when I took that first bite, the first thing that popped into my mind was Golden Corral. You know why? Because I couldn't believe I uttered the words melt in my mouth at a Golden Corral. But this steak made every single steak I ate before that completely irrelevant. It's literally like meeting your food soulmate. Like you've been on so many days, you searched heaven and earth for the perfect significant other. And to this day, I think if anybody ever asked me about one food they need to try, they need to have on the top of their bucket list, I would always tell them A5 Wagyu. And honestly, it doesn't even really matter what type of A5 Wagyu, just go get any one of them. Next was my first authentic pho experience in Vietnam. Well, not my first. I had pho when I got to Vietnam on the first day, I think. But the second place I went to, I think the place is called Phu Vong. That place, oh my God. I see them boiling the massive pots, what I can really only call beef elixir in the front. I smell it like a block away. Still, like I wasn't prepared for when that soup hit my lips. I mean, I love pho. Like you cut me open, I'll bleed hot oil and I'll bleed pho. Pho is something I can eat every single day for the rest of my life. I will never get tired of it. I told you guys about my dumpling diet of 06. I had a pho diet where I would go out like at lunchtime and buy 2 large pho, come back home, put it all together, eat that. 5 hours later, dinner time, do the exact same thing. I did that for like months because pho's cheap too, right? Actually, not anymore in New York, but back then it was like $6 for a large pho. When I'm eating this, I feel good and insulted at the same time. You guys know Brenda from my team, so her cousin, that was one of his favorite places, so he took us there. I will not forget the first sip of that thing. Like, If you see the video, like I'm like, Ben, every single person, like, you guys gotta try this. This is the best pho I've ever had in my life. And it's just something like that I have never been able to taste after that. Like, you know, when you had, because there's a lot of good pho out there. There's a lot of good pho places and you try, you're like, oh, it's pretty good. But this was like the Japanese A5 Wagyu of pho. It doesn't even compare. Plus, it was only like $3. It was so good, we risked being late for our flight to eat at that place again. Oh, by the way, in addition to telling you guys the best places I've ever eaten at, I'm gonna tell you guys the worst places I've ever eaten at. And this is something you won't see a lot in the videos, and there's a reason for that, and I'll get to it. But the next, one of the best foods I've ever had, lechon from Cebu. The roast pig, as soon as I walked, this was CNT lechon. I walked in, all I could hear was cleaver hitting a pile of meat, and you hear the slight crunch as the cleaver blade broke through that crunchy skin and pulverized through the juicy meat. To this day, that remains the best roast pig I've ever eaten in my life. I mean, just the fact that it's a whole massive pig. And I've had entire pigs where the skin tastes like a tire, so rubbery and unchewable, but the skin over there, as soon as it hits your mouth, you crunch through it, it's like a little melty pork chip. And all the herbs and spices just like floated its way into every single inch of that meat. So not only do you get to enjoy that magical skin, when you take a bite of the meat, it's so juicy and so incredibly aromatic. To this day, everywhere I go, I see the words hog heaven, and I see it a lot at barbecue places. I think back when I was actually in pork heaven in Cebu. Next up, braised pork, lu rou fan from Taiwan. Oh my God. When you go to get lu rou fan in Taiwan, especially my favorite place, Jingfeng, it's just something you can't even imagine. Like I get there and I see the bowl of rice and I see like little bits, what kind of looks like ground pork sitting on top of my rice. I see a little bit of white, a little bit of darkness. And I remember taking photos of it and taking videos of it, and after like a minute, I see like part of my meat disappear, and I'm just like thinking, what kind of evil wizardry is this? Was it like a porky tease or something? Little did I know, the fat melted from the pork and is soaked into the rice down below. I think in all of Taiwan, that would be my #1 most recommended thing to get if you are ever over there. Next up, the Japanese bacon bowl. You guys, if you see my Japan videos, you know I rave about this stuff. The Japanese bacon bowl at this one place, I forgot what it's called, I'll link it down below, but first of all, it's all locals. I think it's different now because a lot of people that watch the video go there now, but it's all locals. And there's a line out the door every single time before it opens. And you go to the kiosk, you order your pork. And look, I know it's not bacon, okay? I know. I just like calling it that. It's a bacon bowl. It just sounds more magical. So you get your ticket and you gotta get extra juice, extra sauce. You give it to the guy and they're cooking it right in front of you. They're cooking it, they're grilling the pork. And you get this extra big bowl of it that I never see anybody else getting. And I don't know why, because God, like how could you not want the maximum portion of this dish? And then they give it to you. It looks so pretty. It looks like a flower, like a bacon bouquet. And it's really funny because they put this little like condescending like piece of green veggie on the edge of the bowl, where it kind of acts like, I don't know, the Diet Coke you order at an all-you-can-eat buffet or something, you know, like trying to make yourself feel a little better. And just like the braised pork in Taiwan, the juice from the meat soaked into the rice below, and they drizzle that extra portion of meat juice on top. The meat grilled perfectly with that beautiful char mark all over it. Perfect amount of chew and meltiness. And at the same time, you can taste that hot grill, the smoke, everything that's good in the world in every single bite of that juicy pork, and you just gobble that thing up, and all you want to do is skip forward in time so you can come back for dinner and do the whole thing again. All right, the next one, I just had it a year ago. It's something I can't believe I've never had before, but when I drove through Texas, drove through Austin, the beef ribs in Austin, Texas, is something that everyone should at some point in your life put it in your mouth. You don't even need to chew it. Just put it in your mouth and close your mouth, and that thing will just evaporate. Oh my God, the first place I went to, Terry Black's, oh, the beef rib, it's just, I literally tried, I think I tried just not using my teeth, and you don't have to. I've never had a more tender rib in my life, and there's just something so special about what they do down there, because it's not like it's a billion of different spices. It's just salt and pepper and smoke, and that's it. I mean, the only thing I'll say negatively about it is that the fattiness will eventually be too much for you, and you can't keep on eating this thing. So that's why when you go, you gotta get some pickles or kimchi or something vinegary, something acidic to kind of assist you and cut down the fattiness, because that giant piece of rib, you gotta show it the respect it deserves, and the whole thing deserves to be in your stomach. So those are some of the best foods I've ever had. Let me tell you some of the worst. I want to preface this by saying, when I say it's the worst, it may not be the worst for everybody. It's just that for me, like, I really did not like it. Also, I don't showcase a lot of foods that I don't like on the videos, mainly because I'm not doing these videos to hurt anyone's business, okay? Like, there's many times I will be on a food stall or going to some local restaurants around the world, and I didn't like something and I filmed it, but I didn't end up using it purely because I don't want to damage anyone's livelihood. I mean, they're just trying to make a living. I'm sure there's a lot of people that like what I didn't like, so I never want to impact how another person makes their living. So going back to Taiwan, the same place where I had the braised pork over rice, I had a brain soup. If you like brain, then I'm sure it's great for you. And it's funny because, like, I was there and I was like, I want to try everything on the menu. I'm like, what's a good soup? And the lady was like, it's the brain soup. I'm like, oh, bring me a brain soup. I'll try a brain soup. And she's like, are you sure you want to try a brain soup? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm stupid, so I need some more brain. And then she even told me, she's like, I don't think you'll like it. I'm like, nah, I'll try it. And I tasted it. It was just, a lot of people like brain because it's really creamy. And to me, it was just way too creamy. It was way too creamy. It was like eating something that's even softer than Jello, which, like, I still like a little texture, but brain was just, even think about it now, I'm not feeling it. So I tried the brain, not a fan, especially not in soup, I think, because things are already wet. I mean, maybe if you fry the brain, the texture changes a little bit, so it's not too soft, but when it's surrounded by water, it becomes even softer. Did not love that. All right, the next one, and oh man, I'm gonna feel bad about this one, but I've gotta say it. So my family used to own the Golden China restaurant in Quincy, Illinois, and it was very much a American Chinese restaurant, right? So it had your typical crab rangoon, General Tso's chicken, you know, all the usuals you'll find at a very westernized Chinese restaurant. And I've eaten at these types of restaurants a lot throughout my life. And of course I ate at my own family's buffet a lot. But when I drove through Quincy, this was like a couple years ago, I was moving to California, I think. So I drove through Quincy and I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to stop in my parents' old restaurant and see how it is. So I went inside, and it was really funny because the chairs were the same, like the table, like they kept, even our fish tank, they kept our fish tank. But the food I had there, and again, I've eaten at many westernized Chinese restaurant before, but I don't think I've had food that bad before at any Americanized Chinese restaurant. I mean, nothing had flavor. Like the hot and sour soup wasn't sour, it wasn't spicy, it was just like soup. All the food I had was either dry or too sweet. That was probably one of the worst Chinese food meals I think I've ever had in my life. I'm saying all this now because I think that place closed already, so I'm not impacting anything, but I went in for the buffet and I remember eating like half a plate. And I'm just like, I'm good. And after that, I went to eat at an Italian place, Fazoli's, which I really like. It was like a cheaper, redneckier Olive Garden. All right, the last food I want to talk about that I really, really hated was the pork chop sandwich from Macau. And going into Macau, that was probably one, if not the most hyped up food in that entire city. So yeah, that probably has something to do with it. But I was really expecting something good. But it's just like this fried pork chop. There was no flavor. There's a big bone in the middle. And eating it was like watching Aquaman. It was confusing, it was boring, and eventually it just put all my taste buds to sleep. And to this day, I have no idea. And I see a lot of other food show hosts and travel vloggers eat this thing and proclaim their love for it. What? And look, I'm not trying to insult anybody from Macau or anybody who really loved this. That's your own opinion. I just don't get it. Like, what is so good about it? And I for sure never understood the hype over it. And yes, it's something that if you go to Macau, you should try it because it is like one of those foods that you just gotta try. Give it a try, but like, I mean, have you had it? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Like, is something off with my taste buds? Like, I don't understand it. And to this day, it's one of the most overhyped foods I've ever had. That's why it's making this list. Oh, still a couple things I haven't tried yet. Sticky rice. Oh, this smells so good. I really forgot about this. I think I love smelling this even more than I like eating this. These sesame balls with red beans in the middle. These are really handy if you're super hungry. They will fill you up and they are delicious. Fragrant, crispy outer shell, chewy mochi, sweet red bean. This is also really helpful if you're about to go on a long plane ride and you want to avoid using the bathroom. You eat a couple of these, you won't be going for a week. Finally, this is the salted egg bun. Whew. I never had one that looks like this before. Usually they're the shape of a bow. Whew. I use the back of my chopsticks. It's so hot. Oh my God, the inside sweet, salty egg filling. You know when people say, it's the insides that count? Very, very, very true. Outside's good too, it's flaky, it's soft. Well, this place makes a really good salted egg bun. Highly recommend. Anyway guys, I thought I'd start listing out some of my most recommended places from around the world. So if you are traveling now or you're about to travel soon, still stay safe. We really don't want to have another round of all this. As always, thank you all so much for watching. See you later.